Hi crafty friends, today I'm sharing with you a see-through stained glass card that features some products from the newest Mama Elephant release. For this card, I really wanted to create a wedding card that featured a beautiful stained glass window. So I'm using the Bella frame, the new sentiment set called Way to Go, oldie but goodie images from Pandemonium, and Three Amigos. So first I'm going to start off by coloring in my images. I really like pandas because they are really easy to color besides being cute. So I'm just adding a little bit of shading to my pandas using some toner grays. I'm also going to be adding some cheeks to the two pandas. You will see that I added a little bit of blush to just one of the pandas, but later on I added some blush to the other panda as well. Now, it doesn't look like I'm adding shading to these pandas, but I am. And if you actually look at the card in person, you'll see the shading. For the next part of this card, I'm going to prepare the stained glass. And for this, I am using a piece of clear acetate with my alcohol inks. I'm using one of these handheld hair dryer type of tools to blow the air around to create the effect that I want. I'm adding blending solution along with isopropyl alcohol to make the ink flow so I can push it around to get the design that I'm looking for. This was my first time using this kind of tool with alcohol inks, and I actually ended up really liking it and enjoyed the process. I also really liked the way that it made the alcohol inks looked. I've seen creators using this type of tool on Instagram, and so I really wanted to try it out. And now that I have this, I can use it for crafting, but I am also using it to style my hair with the brush attachment. So it was nice to have a two-in-one tool. You'll see that I am adding different colors in different areas just to try to get some nice blending of colors. And it was all trial and error, just kind of figuring out where things go, how to get it to look the way I want it to look. It was a lot of fun to experiment with this, and I will definitely be doing this again because it was a lot of fun. Once I got the acetate looking the way that I wanted it to, I checked it against the window frame to make sure it looked like the stained glass effect. Here I'm just putting together a few layers of the window frame. I used double-sided adhesive for one of the layers so it will be easier to attach later on. One thing that I did learn the hard way was I should not have put white paper in the middle, but I was just using a extra piece of frame that I had cut out before, and I was just being lazy and didn't want to cut out another black one, but it's okay. It is what it is. So here I'm getting ready the window openings for the card base and my front panel. So I lined it up and centered it and cut it out of a card base and also the front panel. The front panel I'm going to add some texture and pattern to it with a brick stencil and texture paste. So here I'm just spreading it around, and after I finish spreading the texture paste everywhere, I am doing little tapping motions to make the brick a little bit more rough looking and not smooth. While I wait for the texture paste to dry, I added some white pen highlights to my images. I'm also going to work on creating the veil that will go on the panda bride. So to make the veil, I just cut a small piece of white tulle, and I'm basically going to gather it up and attach it to the panda. So to gather up the tulle, I used a needle and thread and just did a simple running stitch along one edge of the tulle. And once I tighten it up, it gathered it and I can attach it to my panda. I'm using a really small glue dot behind the panda to attach the veil, but I also noticed that I needed to stick the veil down a little bit more so it's not so puffy, so I just add a little bit of double-sided adhesive to the back, stuck the veil on, and then the front side, the tulle was popping up, and so you're going to see me try to figure out how to make the tulle stick down. I ended up using liquid glue, and that held the tulle down pretty well. To create the ground, I'm using the Mama Elephant wood grain cover on some craft cardstock, and I ink blended with some Distress Oxide Vintage Photo ink. To put together the card, I just glued everything together I'm going to sandwich the alcohol ink panel in between my card base and then that front panel that I had decorated. So there I'm just lining it up, trying to see where everything is going to go. And then I'm just adding some double-sided tape to the inside to adhere the acetate panel. I really like this see-through effect because you'll see later on when the light catches the panel, it makes it really pretty to see all the colors kind of shining behind it. And now I'm just adding more tape. I'm going to stick the panel on, and hopefully the windows line up. Later on I'm going to find out they didn't line up perfectly, but it was okay because the frame is going to cover up any edges that were hanging over. So my favorite part of this video is coming up, incoming. Slow-mo money shot. You can see the light shining through, and I just love that effect. To finish up my card, I'm just going to adhere the images and sentiment. For the sentiment, I heat embossed it with some iridescent embossing powder just to add a little bit of sparkle. And then I also added a few more extra layers for the sentiment so it can have some dimension. For the pandas, I'm using foam squares to pop it up. I'm making sure that the foam squares are not showing through the window part, because when you open this card, you'll be able to see everything behind the pandas. So I'm just keeping the foam squares below the edge of the window. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you have a great day and happy crafting.